everybody, to the first ever episode of Historically Incorrect. I am your host, Ezekiel Cohen. For this inaugural episode, we are joined by a very special guest, Nick, also known as DickRhino, the top moderator of r/Polandball and the founder of the official Polandball channel here on YouTube. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you already know what Polandball is. But for everyone else, allow me a brief explanation of what it is and why it's such a big deal. Poland balls or country balls are squiggly mouse-drawn characters depicting nations, both current and historical, as two-dimensional balls with eyes. They're most often featured as characters in multi-panel comics telling jokes about history, international relations, and geography. They're also absolutely adorable, like Hello Kitty if she could curse, shoot guns, and knew the capital of Sudan. Polandball is massive on the internet. Nick's subreddit and YouTube channel alone have a combined 1 million followers, and there are millions more watching videos, reading comics, and writing wikis across social media. And you, Nick, have been so instrumental in making that happen. So I want to learn more about the man who's behind so much of this phenomenon. So Nick, do you remember when you first discovered Polandball?
Yeah, I do, and back then it wasn't the global phenomenon that it is now. It has more humble origins. So for people who don't know, like Polandball did not start on Reddit. Polandball started on CrowdChan, which is a European version of 4chan, where it's really fascinating because there are like two global spanning internet memes that have the same origin person. The very first Polandball comics were made when a British guy on CrowdChan, who went by the name of Falco, made a couple of comics mocking a very specific Polish nationalist on that board called Wojak. And depicted Poland as like a bumbling idiot. It's unknown if he drew the Polish flag upside down on purpose to annoy him more, or if that was just done by accident. But he drew Poland upside down, and that stuck, and that just became like a core defining part of the medium. Then the same Wojak is also the origin of the that I know that feel face that then became like 1 million different Wojaks and Soyjaks and all of that spread across the internet. So both Wojaks and Polandball have the exact same origin, which I think is fun because they have nothing to do with each other. But it just puttered along on CrowdChan for like a couple of years, from 2009 to 2011, and didn't like make much noise. And then I think it was in 2011. I'm going to go back and check. Yes, it was. Where one guy from CrowdChan, who has a Reddit account as well, his Reddit account is called 767, created a subreddit for Polandball and just, took all of the stuff that was posted on CrowdChan and reposted it to Reddit. And that's all he did for quite a long time. And then it sort of grew a bit, but it was like a couple of thousand subscribers, no more than that. And then it was just like, it was a post in Ask Reddit, I think, or something, where someone threw out the question, like, what are some cool, lesser known, smaller subreddits that people should know more about? And the Polandball subreddit was name dropped there. That's how I found it. When I found the subreddit, it had like less than 5,000 subscribers, and no one knew what Polandball was. And I got like immediately hooked. Just this whole thing of everything is drawn in MS Paint, so it's like it's super low barrier of entry. Anyone can do it. It's got global appeal because it's just a very simple venue for anyone to just be able to share their own culture, their own history, their own geopolitics. You get to see things from perspectives of other countries that you might not even like thought in those kinds of pathways before. So it's like super international, super welcoming. You can just tell immediately, like, oh, this is such a good idea. Drawing countries as little balls with flags, and they can interact with each other as if they're cartoon characters. Oh, this is brilliant. Anyone can get into this. Anyone can enjoy this. this like has global appeal. So I got hooked immediately. I started drawing comics, and it was like lightning in a bottle. Where like a couple of really talented artists all sort of just found the subreddit at the same time. So guys like me, guys like Coli, Aaron C14, Go Ice Go, Chicken Scuttle Monkey, Bows and Arrows, Lord Monbotto. I can just rattle off names, dozens of names of like really talented, fantastic artists who all just in 2012, 2013, just everyone found the subreddit at the same time and started churning out like comics that are still spread and shared around on the internet today. There's like I made a comic about Sweden's National Day that still gets spread around the internet every year, every like national day Sweden has. And it's exploded in popularity to the point where like we went from 5,000 to 10,000 in a month, and then another month we're at 20,000, and then another 6 months we're up at 50,000, and then up to etc. etc. So now we're up to the subreddit after a decade or so. It's up to 680,000 subscribers, I think, which is quite respectable. And then it's kept spreading to other platforms and other mediums as well. So I think it was around 4 or 5 years ago that it really started like taking off on YouTube as well. Not with the name Polandball though. On YouTube, it's more common with the name Country Balls, whereas on Reddit, it's more common to use the name Polandball. And Country Balls as a topic on YouTube has become like even bigger than it was on Reddit. It's like really exploded here on YouTube.
Yeah. So as you
that
mentioned,
was the short answer.
Oh, I would love to go much deeper into all of this, actually. But before we do, you did not actually found the Polandball subreddit. You became the top moderator later. Would you be able to share with us how that ended up happening, that you became top mod?
Well, sure. I mean, it's not that controversial. It was just that the guy who founded the subreddit, 767, like, I don't know, Polandball is always a community where people come and go. And people like me who've like stuck with it for over a decade, that's pretty rare. We see that when we get like approved submitters as well. People become approved submitters in the subreddit. They post maybe like 2 or 3 comics, and then they never post anything else again. And I think that might be the case for you as well.
Oh,
you
yeah.
showed up,
I
posted
posted
like
exactly
3 comics
three
or
comics.
so, and then
You have my number.
Well, that's the norm. That's how most people do it. So we sort of expect that. We're like it's something people get into for a while and then they move on, like most internet cultures. But then you have people who like stick with it year in and year out as well. But 767 is a guy who like eventually sort of drifted away, got other interests, didn't take any active interest in the subreddit anymore, and just left the rest of the team to actually do all of the day-to-day operations of it. So eventually what happens nowadays with Reddit is that if you're inactive for long enough, Reddit itself, the system itself, slaps a tag on you where you're designated as an inactive moderator. And what happens then is that active moderators can reorder the mod list and put themselves like in a higher position in the hierarchy. And all of us active moderators in the team just felt like we wanted that sort of security and that stability, that the people running the subreddit and the ultimate sort of like decision makers and who could put their foot down if anything happens or whatever, we wanted them to be active. So we did a mod reordering, and we haven't heard anything from him. You get a notification in your mod mail about it, so presumably he doesn't even like read that anymore. So I don't think he's all that upset about it. We did that like half a year ago, and I think he hasn't even noticed that it's happened yet.
Yeah, and if I may say, I think you've done a great job running the subreddit. The whole mod team, actually.
Thank you.
So over the course of your answer, you mentioned...
It's interesting. Sorry. I cut you off.
No, please. Show's about you.
Okay. No, I was gonna say that like that's a divisive topic. Like how we run the subreddit. We have our defenders and we have our haters as well, with our philosophy for it. I personally think that the way we've run stuff has been sort of crucial for the longevity of Polandball as a medium, because you've seen so many other internet memes sort of just come and go, and they flare up and they become like super popular, and then people get bored and they move on to the next thing.
Yeah, for sure. This
Before
actually
you
gets
had
into the
like,
next question. Let me pitch this to you.
mm,
So
okay,
you mentioned approved submitters, which I am one, as we just
yes,
discussed. So one of my favorite features of the subreddit is how heavily moderated it is. Not just anyone can submit it. You have to prove yourself to the mod team with a sample comic, and they have to approve it before you can post. And I think that, as you just mentioned, this is one of the primary reasons why Poland Ball did not degenerate and lose interest like so many memes. You forced it to hold itself up to a high standard.
yes. That being said, what's interesting is that wasn't by design.
Really?
Because the approved submitter system that we use in the subreddit, it was not born out of quality control. It was born for a completely different reason. And the reason was because CrowdChan, when they found out about the subreddit back in 2011 or so, they absolutely hated it, because Chan culture, be it CrowdChan or 4chan,
Yeah.
they hate Reddit. They think Reddit is like just for losers or whatever. So back in those early days when they found out about it, the subreddit got like brigaded, got downvote brigaded, and with just people posting awful stuff and just sort of like waging a war against it. And the approved submitter system, restricting who could post, was a way to combat those brigades and stop CrowdChan from being able to post things in the subreddit. Um, and then over time, it morphed into this tool for quality control and just took on a new life with a new purpose.
Can you tell us a little more
But
about that
yes,
process
that
going
is
from
part of it.
security to quality control?
But it coincided sort of with the rapid growth of the subreddit, because we had that concern. We've seen like Rage comics, how they just degenerated into poor quality and people lost interest, or Dolan or whatever was like the thing at the time. And we were so afraid that that was going to happen with Polandball. I'm sure you know about the concept of Eternal September.
I actually
Do you
don't,
know
so
about the
explain it
concept
to
of
both
Eternal
me and
September?
the audience. Oh,
It's this is a bit early internet. I will type it in so that I can give you the actual Wikipedia entry for it. Yes.
please.
Eternal September refers to a cultural phenomenon during a period beginning late 1993 and early 1994, when internet service providers began offering Usenet access to many new users. So this is like the dawn of internet as we know it. It's very ancient. Prior to this, the only sudden changes in the volume of new users occurred each September, when cohorts of university students would gain access to it for the first time. The periodic flood of new users overwhelmed the existing culture for online forums and the ability to enforce existing norms. So what that means is Eternal September is the concept of when a platform grows too fast and the old veterans and the people who created the ecosystem, created the content, created the culture, suddenly become a minority. And most users of that medium now are new, and like they bring with them maybe a different culture, or maybe they just like don't, they change what it used to be, and that typically on the internet has led to like a drop in quality. So that's what we saw happening, right? Where when I joined, it was at 5,000 subscribers, less than that. It's like 2 months later, it was up to like 11,000. So that is exactly what happened. And we were really afraid that if we grow too fast, this whole thing is going to get screwed up. And we're going to lose out on what makes Polandball so magic and special. So a lot of our rules and a lot of our heavy-handed moderation was made with the explicit purpose of stifling growth, we wanted to stop the rapid growth of the subreddit. We wanted to slow it down as best as we could. We couldn't, right? It was like a tidal wave. Polandball is a global phenomenon because it has global appeal. It's such a good idea. Of course it's going to blow up. Of course it's going to become big. There's no
Good
way it
problem
wasn't
to
going
have.
to. But we wanted to, yeah, I know, right? But we wanted to the extent possible, put the brakes on it and make sure that we can keep it special. We can keep what's magical about it while it grows. And our way of doing that was really, really heavy-handed moderation, heavy-handed enforcement of subreddit rules, of artistic rules, just do's and don'ts, and made sure that if you want to participate in this medium, if you want to like do this with us, then you got to do it according to the rules that you know we set out. And obviously, you know, with a fledgling internet medium, a lot of these rules are fluid. It's like and evolve over time. It's not like we etched out in stone immediately from day one every single like sort of artistic rule. That's not how it works. But it is fun today when people sort of like.
I do want to ask,
sure.
How did you settle on the initial rule set?
Some of it happens organically. Some of it happens when more sort of like loud voices or powerful voices sort of like set the tone. We have one guy in the mod team who passed away a couple of years ago. It's called Java Code. He was the guy who he was the big sort of coder behind the scenes. He did all of the CSS. He created the Flare system. He did all the theme days in the subreddit. He was like the man behind the machine. Not many people know about him because he never wanted to be famous, and he just preferred to work behind the scenes almost exclusively. I made a video about him on the YouTube channel and just honoring him and some of his best comics that he drew. Yeah. But he was also very, very vocal about things that he didn't like. And as the German he is, he's also very, very direct. And he could just, from one day to the next, he's like, nope, I have just decided that this is against the rules. For example, country balls can't have hair. That was just him one day. It's like, nope, I have decided that hair is against the rules, period.
That was a very good
So
decision.
that's how that worked. That's how that rule happened.
Yeah, and I love that now if you do give him hair, and we do this on our channel, they have to have a little price tag on the wig so you know it's fake and not real hair.
If you ask me, I hate that price tag. I hate it. I hate that stupid loophole. And I'm like,
I think it's so funny.
No, like, look. I
so
know, but it's so dumb. Polls? The dumbest one is when I see that. I hate handy polls as well. I think handy polls are a stupid loophole. I wish handy polls would go away. If I got to decide for myself and not have to consult with the rest of the team, I would have banned them a long time ago. But the stupidest thing was when I saw like a price tag on a mustache, and I'm like, come on, that's.
I think you're throwing shade at me. We do that a lot.
Oh no, I hate it. I'm like, I'm look, not the biggest either we allow hair or we don't. No, it's like either we allow it or we don't. But the whole thing about like just putting a price tag on it is like you can just if we're at that point, we might as well just draw them with hair and mustaches, right?
And arms and legs, and now you have really ugly country humans.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? It has taken on a life of its own on YouTube because anyone can start their own YouTube channel, and some things have exploded, and our quality control and our enforcement of the rules, that's only a thing on Reddit. So you have a huge, so to speak, country balls channels, like Mr. Spherical, for exampe. He puts mouths and hands on his stuff, and it's like, all right, I guess it's the Wild West here. I guess anything goes.
I mean, that's what happens, but the subreddit itself remains very solid, and it'll probably be a constant generator of... it obviously can't control its satellites, but because a lot of people are going to come in through the subreddit, it'll limit how variant everything becomes. You're probably not going to see as many variants on variants on variants.
No, and it's also still the hub of actual content creation when it comes to comics. All the other places on the internet, be it Facebook, be it like reaction channels on YouTube, be it countryballs.net, be it the Polandball wiki or whatever. Everyone takes their content from the subreddit. The comics get drawn and posted on Reddit, and then from there they spread out to the rest of the internet. That's still the case, even after all these years.
Yeah, so we're talking a lot about Polandball's break outside of Reddit. Could you tell me a little bit about when that started and what role the subreddit played in expanding to other corners of the internet?
The subreddit didn't really play a role in that, and that's sort of something we have lamented a bit afterward, and think that like we might have like thought a bit wrong about some things, because we were always like these purists, right? Polandball is for everyone. Polandball has to remain non-commercialized. Was an idea we had. We didn't want to like bring money into it and anything. And one guy from our subreddit who was on the mod team and a very long time submitter, very popular, named Brain for Breakfast.
Yes.
I think most people who have followed Country Balls for a while know about him. He was like, you know what? I think this could work on YouTube. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel doing Polandball stuff. And he was one of the first to do it. And he was one of the first to like make it sort of big on YouTube, in that like he got up to like 100,000 subscribers or something. But back then it was big. He was one of the biggest Country Balls channels. And we in the subreddit back then were like, no, Polandball has to remain non-commercialized. Polandball has to remain pure. So one thing that we did was we didn't allow him to self-promote on Reddit. We're like, no. We have to remain a bastion of like this holy idea of Polandball or whatever. Now, to his credit, he's such a good content creator that he made it big like anyway, despite that. But I do regret that, looking back at it. And obviously, Brain for Breakfast passed away. I think it was in 2019. I think both he and Java Code both died in the same year.
I remember that. Did you see
as a small tangent? Yeah.
Did you see the description of the last video he posted?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there was a very cute message in there.
Did.
So long, thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, it's like I know that he had other projects he was working on. So it's like people are speculating about like cause of death or whatever, but we don't know to this day. His family hasn't told us what it was, and we decided not to like pry or ask about it. So
yeah,
no one really knows. But yeah, as a tangent, that was a very tough year for me. Because I was close to both of them. I'd met Brain for Breakfast in real life several times. No one had met Java Code in real life because he was such a private person. But I had like such a good cooperation with him in the subreddit. Me and him were like the two big workhorses for many years. And losing both of them in the same year, it was a period of grief for me, and I had to depart from the subreddit for a while. I took like a hiatus for several years because there was just a time when Polandball stopped being fun for me. And that was when we lost both of them in such a short amount of time. And it wasn't until like maybe a year, 2 years ago, something like that, where I started. No, like a year ago, a bit more, year and a half, when I came back to Polandball. But that was a tangent. What I was going to say, though, is that Brain for Breakfast, he created his own YouTube channel. It got up to 100,000 subscribers by the time he passed away. I looked at it now. Now it's up to like 200,000. So he's gotten like another 100,000 subscribers since passing away, despite the fact that his channel hasn't put out any new content in that time since then, in 5 years. That's kind of
because
nuts
his
how
videos
that
were that
works
good. They're just as good as
YouTube.
today as when they were posted.
Yeah, they still hold up. They're still fantastic.
Yeah. And not only does his
But
videos continue to do very well, I know tons of creators, including myself, who are absolutely inspired by him, his work, his style. There is a
yeah.
geopolitical analyst named Peter Zeihan, who I personally, I don't know if this is true, but my theory is that Brain for Breakfast really liked him, and he kind of really helped Zeihan's career out. So you kind of see Zeihan around a lot of places. He really had a massive impact.
Mm. He did. He did, and he did in the subreddit as well. You know, he was a good part of the mod team. He's a hardworking moderator. He drew a lot of like really fantastic comics. He was the guy who did the first Polandball world map, which then became like this huge annual project that also drives a lot of interest in the subreddit every year. So his footprints are like all over Polandball, which is cool to see that still to this day that you can just see his influence. But we reached sort of like a breaking point when we saw how much it was exploding on YouTube in particular, and a lot of channels who just, you know, they go and they just take comics from the subreddit and then they like react to them and get super big, and they make a bunch of money from it. The actual creators of the comics don't see a dime of that money, nor are they ever like asked for permission or like if they want to be featured.
Yeah,
And
that's Reddit.
we see people like, yeah, and stores pop up. Everyone and their mother are selling Polandball plushies. It's we sort of realized after a while that everyone on the internet is making money from Polandball, except for the people who are actually making the comics, except for the people who like were the ones who launched this global phenomenon. And we were like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's not fair.
It's not fair, and we made a mistake by like being so against self-promotion and being against the idea of commercializing Polandball, because everyone else is doing it. All the vultures are circling around the subreddit and picking off the bones and making money from it, while we are telling people that no, you can't. And it's like, no, we didn't like that. So, you know, with hindsight, it was wrong of us to not allow Brain for Breakfast to use the subreddit to help promote this stuff. And we sort of like changed how we thought about things. So we have our community subreddit, a sister subreddit called Polandball Community, where nowadays like we do allow self-promotion. We do allow people who are approved submitters in subreddit that they can like promote their projects there. So and we also took the leap to YouTube ourselves, where we were like,
yes,
we should be here too. We should.
Can you tell us more about that channel?
We should participate in this. We saw it, you know, it's sort of like, you know, the way the medium is headed. Whereas like YouTube has become such a big part of it now that you can't deny it. There are other mediums where it's like, yeah, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. It exists there as well, but YouTube has become the next big powerhouse besides Reddit. And we were like, if we want to continue to stay relevant and continue being trendsetters and continue sort of like being an authority, being something that people look up to when it comes to like the direction of the medium or whatever, then we need to be on YouTube as well. That was just like, it felt very natural. So we launched that channel about a year ago. And I previously have like a gaming channel with my wife that's not Polandball related at all. That's something I started during my Polandball hiatus when I was away from the medium. I started a gaming channel with my wife, and we did that for a couple of years. Middling results. We got up to like 18,000 subscribers, which isn't, you know, it's not anything you can live off of, but it's not.
Yeah, but for gaming,
nothing
like,
either.
No, but also Let's Play content in this year, that's a very hard market to break into. Getting to 18,000 from nothing, that's not easy.
It's so oversaturated. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so oversaturated. It's very hard to break into. You should have done that like 10 years ago, right? If you were going to do that sort of channel. But I tried anyway. It went okay. But more than that, it was more like I have in my belt like 4 or 5 years of trial and error regarding like how to run a YouTube channel and like what works, what doesn't work. So I had a pretty good idea of like how to launch it and make sure it was like a good launch. And
Yeah, and
now
if I may
now we
interject,
use
nearly
the
every
subreddit
successful
to help promote it as well and get it off the ground.
Yeah, if I may interject, nearly every successful YouTuber I know has made at least one or two other attempts in the past to launch a channel that did not succeed.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably, I think it was the same for like Dream as well, like the Minecraft
Yeah.
YouTuber. So, because people are describing him as like some sort of overnight success that came out of nowhere. No, he also had failed projects before and did the whole trial and error thing. But yeah, we did that. We had a launch. We did that whole trial and error, tried different sorts of content, and we got up to like 9,000 subscribers from September 2023 to June 2024, which is okay. And then we started making shorts. We started making like original comics in the shorts format on YouTube, and those really took off, and the channel sort of like exploded in popularity. So now, in a period of 4 months, we've gone from 9,000 subscribers up to, what is it now, like 260,000, something like that.
Yeah.
It's growing real goddamn fast.
And that's driven almost entirely by shorts.
So that's cool. Shorts, and also Chicken Scuttle Monkey, who is a musician, has started a very popular thing of like, yeah, Polandball covers of like pop songs, which have also become like super popular. His 2 Days into Belgium, which is a cover of 2 Days into College, it's got like over 1 million views now.
I'm half of them.
I even like the new one better, Red Commie Club, which is the Red Commie Club is his cover of Chappell Roan's Pink Pony Club. I like that one even better than 2 Days into Belgium. It's fantastic.
So you mentioned Polandball has not gotten so large.
We tried for a while as well to do, and it worked back then. A Polandball news show, PN, Polandball News Network, to do sort of like, Saturday Night Live's weekend update, but in a Polandball format. It did work, but they were just a lot of work to do. And the problem with doing a news show is that it's all current. So it's not evergreen content. It's not something that people are going to go back and watch year after year. Like, for example, Brain for Breakfast's video essays. So we did feel that like maybe this isn't the kind of content. It did work to drive traffic, and it did work to drive interest. But long term, we can probably find smarter things to make videos about.
Yeah. So do you have any interest in trying to
So we're still sort of, in a way, in that trial and error.
Oh, by the way, I think we have a bit of a delay between the two of us.
I've thought about it. I think so too. There's a bit of a lag. We have to work around it. I've tried to thought about doing stuff on Twitter as well. It's just that Elon Musk's Twitter is such a shit show that it's hard to find the energy to get involved with it. Maybe I'll try doing something on Blue Sky instead. That being said, we have launched both Instagram and TikTok channels where we repost the stuff that we upload to YouTube, and those are also like growing at a pretty decent rate. We've also started putting out the music on like Spotify and iTunes and services like that. So we're trying to like branch out and like be everywhere at the same time. I guess we should put some more effort into Twitter as well. I just don't like it anymore.
I don't know if the audience can hear it, but your cats are mewing in the background. I think they also have opinions on Elon Musk's new Twitter.
I know.
Regarding Twitter, if you
I'm gonna see if I can
the energy
fetch him and we can have a cat cam.
Yeah, bring him in. I do want to say regarding Twitter, if you do want to break into it, I actually think that Musk's Twitter is easier because of one simple feature. If you play for the blue check mark, you get a boost in the replies. So if you want to grow an account and bring attention to an account, the two best ways I found to do it, and if you take a look at my Twitter account, I'm shitposting all the time just to see how far I can take it. One, find bigger accounts that you like and then come up with witty replies to, pay for the highest version of premium so your reply goes to the top, and just always be replying to much bigger accounts. And like, don't just say literally nothing, add value, be positive. First off, the guy you're replying to should actually like you. You shouldn't be a nuisance. And second, if it's not witty, if it's not funny, no one's going to follow you. And the second thing is have a very wide variety of content to post on your own and keep track of what does well. The things that do well, keep posting new content similar to it and also hold on to them and repost them in a couple of weeks and a couple of months. And I think those two things are the recipes for growth on Twitter.
Yeah, I know it works like that. It's just like I don't want to give Elon Musk $8 per month. I just don't.
Well, think of it this way: for him, it'll just be a drop in the bucket. It can't possibly do any more harm.
I'm not.
Yeah, we'll work around it. We're almost done here. You know, actually, sorry, we can stop the recording and restart it. That might resync us.
I think we should do that at this point because we're like I think we've gone so far out of sync that we probably should.
So yeah, that is what I've discovered from trying to grow on Twitter. And frankly, like, you'll have to come up with an appropriate arrangement that your community finds acceptable. But something I might suggest doing is taking the top comics each week or even each day and reposting them to Twitter. And what you could do is in the replies or even in the original post, link back to the post on the subreddit so they're getting the credit.
Yeah, I know we can do that. I know that we could probably, with the effort, grow a pretty decent following on Twitter as well.
The community would have to find it acceptable, and also this is another case because the YouTube channel is centralized. On Twitter, what'll happen is people start going onto Twitter, and you can't enforce the rules there, obviously.
Yeah. No, it's just like same as on Instagram, same as on TikTok. We're just, instead of being the arbiters of the rules like we are on Reddit, when we enter this ecosystem, we're just one out of many. We're just another channel in a sea of channels, which is also why we are expanding a bit. Where it's like we do some stuff in the YouTube channel that we wouldn't do on Reddit. There's some line tool in the backgrounds, things like that. We take some liberties when it comes to animations because the medium allows for it, and we just sort of recognize that it's a different beast. YouTube has its own thing, its own culture, and we're not going to be sticklers there and be like, oh, just because this is how things work on Reddit, we're going to sort of like demand and enforce that anywhere else. We're not. So we're sort of enjoying a bit of more creative freedom as well when we do stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, so regarding running the channel, I understand you're not the only person doing it. Could you tell us a little bit about the whole team you have and like what each person's working on?
So there's 4 of us who are working in the Polandball official YouTube channel. It's me. I am the guy who started the channel. I am the channel owner. I've had my finger in a bit of everything. My hand in a bit of everything, not my finger. That sounds weird. No, it's so it's like, I don't know. I made a bunch of the first videos, which was like sort of like React content, and I actually was the first one to try to do like a comic as a short as well, to see if that worked. Then you have Kolai, who does a lot of the live streaming, the vast majority of the live streaming on the channel. He live streams like several times per week, and he also works a lot on our shorts content, editing, and voice acting for most of them. We have Aaron C14, who's also like a legend in the subreddit as one of the most prolific comic artists. Who's just like he's an art machine. He just churns out art at a pace that no one else can do, and he does most of the art in the stuff that we post on the YouTube channel. All the videos, it's just Aaron all over with all of the art. And then there's Chicken Scuttle Monkey, who is a musician and also a comic artist. And so he does all of the music for the channel and all of our cool music videos that we have. And also he's done quite a few video essays as well, which he enjoys working on. So we have it's sort of like divided. Everyone does a bit of everything. Aaron has done some live streams. I've done some live streams. I've worked on some shorts, etc., etc. But it's starting to become a bit more crystallized over time and like who does what. But yeah, those four of us, we're also just, all of us are like long-term subreddit people. We're like me, Aaron, and Kolai. We all found the subreddit within like 2 months of each other. And Chicken Scuttle Monkey showed up like 4 months after us. So we've all been there for like, we've known each other on the internet for like 12 years or so at this point. So working together actually works out pretty smoothly. It's like we're all sort of friends, and we were sort of kids and youths and youngsters. Not in my case, I'm an old fart, but
yeah, you're
but
married,
else,
you have a family.
I do. I have a wife and a daughter, but
you have cats, for God's sake.
I have cats. But we're also like older and more mature at this point. Whereas like if we had done this 10 years ago when all of us were still sort of like figuring out who the hell we were, probably wouldn't have worked as well. But now it feels like nah, this is gonna go just fine.
Yeah, I mean, just coming in as an outsider, first off, your growth has been spectacular, and second, your content is amazing. I think you're only going uphill from here.
I think so too. And our goal right now is to not rest on our laurels, not sort of just be like, okay, we found our thing, we're just going to do this forever. Because
that's
I think
what kills you.
Yeah, exactly. No, you have to be a bit of a trend chaser on YouTube, and you have to sort of like figure out how to keep people engaged and come up with some new stuff over time. So we're definitely...
If I may make a suggestion or a request for Scuttle Monkey, your musician, there is a very charming comic from a long time ago called Junta the Musical. And it's a musical song where all the South American countries are singing about forming juntas in the aftermath of Operation Condor.
Yes.
If I may be presumptuous, could you take a look at possibly making that into a musical?
I think that's already been done, hasn't it?
Did you guys produce it, or was that by someone else?
Well, the actual maker of the comic is an artist called FVBLT.
Yes.
So I do know that there
he
is
recorded
a
a demo. But I'm talking about like the whole video. He recorded a demo of it, but I'm talking about giving it a whole video with a full proper production like Scuttle Monkey has done for the other songs he's done. You don't have to make any commitments now. This is just me yapping away. But if the answer is yes, I would be very happy.
Well, we would have to. Well, we'd have to have their permission to do it as well. Obviously, you know what? It's not a bad idea. It would probably blow up. And I have featured FVBLT's comics on the channel already when it came to like monthly contests. We've featured some of those, the top 10 from monthly contests, on this YouTube channel. And I did ask FVBLT back then if that was cool. And it was. No problems there. So they have previously allowed us to feature their stuff on the channel. So I guess, you know what? It's not the worst idea. I'll run it by CSM.
Good luck. I will look forward to its possible and eventual creation.
Well, we'll see when in that case. We'll see when. See, he has some stuff coming up in his private life as well that might lower the amount of free time that he has for the channel in the upcoming future.
Well, I hope it's good things.
It is.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to him. I have
Mm.
2 more questions for you before we close off. The first is only tangentially related, but Polandball comics can be political sometimes. There is a huge presidential election coming up in the United States
No.
at the time of our recording. So, just for fun, could you share your prediction for who you think will win? Not your endorsement of who you want to win, just who you think is going to win.
Yes, I can do that. We can get a bit political, and that's fine because we're discussing geopolitics, and it sort of comes with the territory of like doing Poland
Yes.
ball of like just paying some attention to what is going on in the world. My prediction is that Kamala Harris is going to win the election, and I believe it is going to be the women's vote. I believe it's Dobbs all the way. I think the abortion issue is going to be what decides this election.
You know what's interesting? Not to take away from your answer at all, but nearly every European I've spoken to thinks Kamala is going to win. But most Americans, including myself, think that Donald Trump is going to win.
That is fascinating. It also depends on which medium you're in, obviously. Where, for example, Reddit is a very like sort of left-leaning website. It has been for not forever. It started out as a very tech bro thing back like 15 years ago. So I think it was more sort of like slanted to the right back then. But over time, it has become a very sort of left-leaning website. So if you hang out on Reddit a lot, you're going to see a lot of positivity for Kamala Harris and a lot of negativity toward Donald Trump. Twitter under Elon Musk has undergone a radical shift. Used to be very, very sort of left slanted as well. Not so much anymore. So I think depending on where you hang out, in what part of the internet, you're going to get very different answers for who you think is going to win or not.
Very interesting. Well, listen, we're recording this just a few days before the election, so we'll find out soon. Okay, Nick, we are running out of time. Before we go, I have to ask, what is one thing you hope people take away from Polandball, or that Polandball does for the world?
I'm going to say this. When Polandball has had its sort of like detractors over time, it's interesting when you talk about geopolitical satire and joking about culture, joking about countries, joking about politics and history, where you sort of have to walk a sort of fine line where it's like it's politically incorrect. If you do it the wrong way, it veers into like ugly racism. If you do it the wrong way in the other direction, it just becomes like meaningless fluff that has nothing of importance to say to the world. So there is sort of like that balancing act that you have to do with geopolitical satire. That being said, there is something that we have felt, if you look at the culture of the world over the past 20 years or so, that the sort of space for what you're allowed to joke about and what you're allowed to do comedy about is just sort of shrinking. And we've always felt like Polandball is a very healthy counterweight to that. Because when you take this medium for what it is one of the most inclusive communities on the internet. It's one of the most positive communities on the internet. We have submitters and commenters from every single country in the world. I have learned more about other countries and other cultures through Polandball than I ever did, for example, through my formal education. I've come into contact with people from South America and understood how they think, how they view the world, how they view politics, how they view culture, which is like a perspective which I didn't have that before. The same of Africans, the same of people from Southeast Asia. It has like broadened my understanding of the world in a way that like it's unimaginable. It brings people together. It gives a community for geopolitic history flag nerds who didn't have any,
Vexillologists, they call
yeah,
themselves.
who didn't really have any sort of venue before for their interests, and a community for their interests. You see it with the outpouring of support for Brain for Breakfast, and so many people just talking about what an impact he has had in their lives and their interests. And like, they're like, oh, this is the guy who got me into politics. This is the guy who got me into history and culture. Polandball does that for people. It is such a force of good in the world. It brings so many positive things with it. And it does so through jokes that are very much not politically correct, very much straddling the line of what you're allowed to joke about and what you're not allowed to joke about. And this world needs to have something like this in it, because once you realize like what it is, and you think that like, oh, you're just like laughing at other cultures and just making jokes at other people's expense. And it's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're not laughing at anyone. We're laughing together. We're laughing with each other. We're sharing of our own cultures. We're allowing other people to laugh with us. Most of my comics are about Sweden, and I typically make Sweden the butt of the joke because I want to share my perspective and give to the rest of the world something that I know about that they might not know about. That's what Polandball is. That's why it's special. That's why it's magical. That's why everyone loves it. And I think it's important for people who might not know all that much about the medium to understand that, like, that's how we see it, and that's why it's so precious to us.
That's all very wonderful. I hope that one day we can all look back and say that everything you just said is historically correct.